Hi, this is Craig Weska recording for swordstoplowshares.com, and today we're going to be talking about the Ten Commandments, specifically answering the question in the commandment where it says do not kill. Is that talking about just people, or is that talking about, say, people and animals, or who is that talking about? Well, one of the things that I like to talk about when it talks about the Ten Commandments, the first half talk about worshiping God. It says worship God, God alone. Don't make idols. That can make God jealous. Don't bow down to these idols. Don't take God's name in vain, using it for vain purposes. And then the second half of the commandments are all about loving your neighbor as yourself. So like don't steal, don't murder, don't bear false witness, don't covet, honor your mother and father, things like that. And so Jesus kind of summarized them, and he said the greatest commandment is love God with your whole being, and then the second is very similar to it, love your neighbor as yourself. So I take that to be him referring to the first half of the Ten Commandments and the second half. So the first half, love God, second half, love your neighbor. So now there's an interesting one right in the middle of the ones that are between God and between neighbor. That's the Sabbath, and that kind of brings the two together, where it says, keep the Sabbath, don't do any work in it. That day shall be holy. That's a way for us to reconnect and remember God on a weekly basis. And it's also a way for us to be in fellowship with our neighbor and with everyone around us, because we're all not working. We're taking a day off, this day of rest, to all connect with God and to have this day where we're not working. So it kind of brings the two together. It connects the Ten Commandments, where it involves God, because that's the Sabbath day, to keep it holy, to remember God, but then also everybody rests together. So interestingly enough, when we talk about each specific commandment, sometimes it specifies, so it says don't covet, so don't covet your neighbor's house, don't covet your neighbor's wife, don't covet your manservant, your maidservant, nor the ox or the donkey or anything else that's your neighbor's. So it specifies some of the things that are included in, don't covet. Don't covet any of these things, but it's a non-exhaustive list. It can mean other things as well. Now, when it comes to the commandment, don't kill, it's the shortest one. It's just don't kill. Then we move on to the next one. Don't commit adultery. Don't steal. Don't bear false witness. And so the question is, who are we talking about when it says don't kill? Well, since it doesn't specify, I'd look at the context of it to determine who it might be referring to. So if we look at the context and we look at the commandment where it is mentioned who it's talking about, who this commandment is for, the only one that it's mentioned is the Sabbath one, the one that connects the two together. The first ones that involve God and the last ones that involve your neighbors. That one is the one that specifies who is this commandment for. And so since that's the one that specifies, let's look at that one, where it says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh, your God. In it you shall do no work. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it, or set it apart, as holy. So interestingly enough, it mentions all kinds of people, and then it also mentions nor your cattle. So it specifies that it's not just the people, it's not just you, it's not just your son, your daughter, your family, nor your servants, your manservant, your maidservant, that's a male and a female servant, nor your strangers within your gate, those who you're taking in hospitably, but also your cattle. So the animals that are under you within your power, they shall also rest. So for the Sabbath commandment, it does involve animals. And so when we talk about the other commandments, specifically the one that says don't kill, well, since the previous commandment, where it talks about the Sabbath, says it's not just for people, but animals are also included, well, then what do you think it might mean when it says don't kill? Do you think that's just people, or do you think animals are included in that one too? Well, since it doesn't specify, I guess we don't know for certain, but it leads me to believe within the context that it's not just talking about people, it's talking about the same recipients that the previous commandment was talking about. So that's my reading of the 10 Commandments, and whether do not kill is just don't kill people, it's don't kill any of the recipients, any of the those that the commandments are talking about, since the Sabbath ties everything together and includes animals, specifically cattle. We shouldn't be killing cattle, and we probably shouldn't be killing any animals. So this is Craig Wesco. That's your Bible story for today.